try to heal and rehabilitate the injury or illness that you have. There's a lot of, you might see a therapist working with a patient think, that looks pretty easy, I can do that. But what you don't see is the thought process that goes behind the scenes on choosing the right exercises and activities to get that person back to where they need to be from a functional perspective. Functional training, self-care and home management. When I work with a patient with spinal cord injury or a stroke, what I am doing is taking someone who now has a whole different ballgame for their life. Instead of walking, they might be using a wheelchair, and teaching them some skills that they're going to need to live independently. Has anybody ever pushed a wheelchair? Anybody ever pushed a wheelchair on this campus? Anybody tell me how you get from the top level on the other side of the library down to the sidewalk?
You go around.
There is an elevator. Do you know where it is?
It's over the other side.
It's over on the other side. Very good. So the accessibility on campus is, you take for granted, right, that you can walk around this campus and go up downstairs. There's a lot of stairs on this campus. Did you know that? You probably do. But if you've ever sat in a wheelchair and rolled around this campus, you will learn a couple of things. One, you have to plan ahead because you got to use those elevators. And B, there are a lot of hills, and there's steep hills. Okay, so one of my things that I would do would be, I had a kid not too long ago, a couple of years ago, who was a student here, and we worked on skills specifically to get him to class on time. You can imagine what it'd be like. Now, he probably pushed faster than you guys can walk, but learning to be able to maneuver all the obstacles. So I taught him how to bounce up a curb, bounce down the curb, bounce downstairs when he was running late. So some pretty cool skills that you get to teach somebody to, and you know, those are also cool things to learn to do. Wheelies and all that good stuff, but functional skills for a campus like this. Learn how to go down a hill. Have you ever gone down if you can imagine going down the hill that goes down to the stadium in a wheelchair? That's a pretty sweet ride. But what you need to be able to learn to do is go down that hill in a wheelie so that when you get to the bottom hill, you don't get ejected. So, you know, some of those skills that you probably don't think about when you walk around 2 feet. Manual therapy techniques. Those are, anybody ever had a back injury? Okay. Anybody had manual therapy done to you, adjustments and those sorts of things? So those kinds of skills. We have folks who just specialize in the spine. Assisted adaptive, orthotic, protective, supportive, and prosthetic devices and equipment. How many of you seen soldiers come back from Iraq with amputations? You seen pictures? There's some very cool prosthetic devices out there being developed as a result of that have computer-based knee joints. And so what happens is the computer senses what the gait cycle is supposed to be. Some of your research is being done down the campus here. And the computer is sensing the angles. He's taking physics. It is applicable. Taking the angles and telling the computer what to do at the point in time that the person is moving. So for example, when you step, what happens? Does your knee bend or straighten? It's going to straighten and hold you up, right? And when you shift your weight to the other leg, what happens to the knee? It bends, kicks forward, and gets ready to go again, right? Very simplified version. There's a whole class on that. But the computer is telling the knee what to do, and the therapist is teaching the patient how to walk based on the prosthesis itself. Very cool device. So technology is neat. Electrotherapeutic modalities, we not only treat with our hands, but we have other modalities, machines that we use to help. And so lots of cool things. What's the educational requirement for PT? This has changed since I became a PT. When I was here at Clemson, most people were getting their bachelor's degree in physical therapy. I got my master's at Duke. Now the master's is the minimal requirement to become a physical therapist. And most programs are now moving to a doctorate of physical therapy. So that's a switch. that change has been transitioning over the past few years. The APTA's goal is that everybody will have a doctorate or come out with a doctorate in physical therapy by 2020. However, you can still go to a master's-based program, come out with your PT degree and practice, and you will be grandfathered in at the point in time that it becomes a requirement to become a doctor in physical therapy. All right, what classes do you have to take? Typically, most universities recommend or require anatomy, physiology, exercise physics, chemistry, physics, etc., etc. However, if you look on that grid sheet, everybody's prerequisites vary a little bit. Okay, so what you need to do is wherever you consider or think you want to go to school, then you need to take a look and see if you are going to meet those prerequisites. What you don't want to do is end up applying your senior year, getting in, and then learning, uh-oh, I'm missing this class, missing this key class. So you want to have all that done, ready to roll. Anybody know whose prereqs this is? It's MUSC. Do you have a t-shirt? No. So that is MUSC's requirements. All right. So these are semester hours that you need, or quarter hours. You're on semester. Chemistry with labs, physics with lab, biology, human anatomy, human physiology, general psychology, abnormal psych, human growth and development, and statistics are the prereqs. So basically, you can major in anything you want to major in as long as you get these requirements in. We had people in my PT class that majored in music and English, but most of us were biology or science majors. The Doctor of Physical Therapist is it's an entry-level doctorate program. Most programs are 3 years. Most programs you come in with a bachelor's degree, and most programs are 3 years. Now, just in case you think it's 3 years like you have now, it's 3 solid years. Usually you're doing internships and other classes in the summer, so it's 3 full years in most cases. And the majority require you to come in with an undergrad degree. There are some programs that you can come in with 3 years. And students usually are in the program between 6 and 9 semesters. So it's intense. When I left here with my degree in microbiology, I thought that I had really worked hard. I got to Duke, and I called home and said every day, I'm going to fail. It's really intense. Classes are, I did work really hard here. Classes in PT school, we were in class many days from 8 to 5. And then you go home and study. So it's a busy 2 or 3 years, depending on where you go. But it's real worth it. It's just like med school or dental school or any other professional school you're going to go to. It's going to be a challenge. You are, I imagine, the top of your classes. I have sat there too. You're going to go to school with all other people like you. And right now you're really competitive, right? Because y'all want to get into school, y'all want to get in. And it's very competitive. You get into school, it's very hard to get in. Once you get in, competition kind of ends. And everybody's pretty good about working together. All right. What schools offer PT programs? In South Carolina, you have 2 DPT programs. You have MUSC and USC. You will see that the requirements are a little different. MUSC has been around forever. Their PT program has been, I don't know when it started, but way before I became a PT, and has been around forever. The USC program is newer. I believe, I couldn't tell you exactly the year they started, but they graduated 3 or 4 classes, I think, maybe 5. And they have a smaller class. MUSC, last time I checked, last year, I think they had 60 students in their program. And the USC class is somewhere in the 15 to 20 range. So, different class sizes there. Other programs in close proximity, if you want to stay close to Clemson and come to football games. Western Carolina University. Who knows where Western Carolina University is?
Cullowhee.
Cullowhee. It's the middle But if you go straight up the mountain, it's about an hour and a half from here. And they have a master's in physical therapy program. So that is a 2-year program. A little over 2 years, 2.5. Well, not quite 2.5. North Georgia State University is in
Dahlonega.
Dahlonega. You don't have a t-shirt here. Dahlonega, Georgia. My last t-shirt. And that is just north of Gainesville. And that has a doctorate program. Georgia State is in Atlanta, and Emory's in Atlanta. So those are your closest in proximity. As far as PT schools, though, North Carolina has a ton of PT schools. Duke, UNC Chapel Hill, Elon, East Carolina. There's more, and I can't think. So lots of programs in North Carolina, lots of programs in Georgia, lots of Medical College of Georgia and Augusta. But in South Carolina, you got 2. So if you want to go to one of the South Carolina programs, be prepared. Get your applications done early and apply and keep those grades up. How do you get in? Grades are one of the key factors. It's just like med school, it's competitive. Looking at GPAs, looking at your grades, but not only your GPA, but they look for volunteer or employment in the field of physical therapy. So if you want to be a PT, I would recommend that you shadow, or if you can get a part-time job. I know that there are some clinics around the area, Clemson Sports Medicine, who works for them. Anybody? That's where I know you. They offer, they have some techs positions that they employ. There are volunteer opportunities to go observe. And if you're going to observe, I would recommend that don't just observe in one arena. Don't just go do the outpatient orthopedic sports thing. Observe in some hospital-based practices, observe in some other settings so you can get a feel for the bigger picture. Be involved in school and community activities. When they look at your resume or your application, they are looking for a well-rounded student. So just like every other person that probably comes and talks to you, they are looking for a full, very well-rounded, very active student. Demonstrate a history of leadership. Your involvement in AED is great. Other leadership opportunities that you can take will help you out. Have letters of recommendation from physical therapists or your science teachers. Be nice to your science teachers. They're not looking for a recommendation from your mama, because your mom likes you. But they're looking for a recommendation from someone who can attest that you can do the rigor of the program, that you can hang with the program and do well. And have strong writing and interpersonal skills. If you're going to be a physical therapist and you're shy and reserved, that might not be a good personality fit for a PT. PTs are typically pretty outgoing. As a PT, you're serving as a coach, as a mentor, as an encourager many times, as an educator. So you need to be able to have those interactions with the folks you're going to treat and be able to motivate them to do whatever it is they need to do. If you're going to PT school, and this is probably in general, if you're thinking about med school or dental school or whatever it is, what are you looking for? Where do you want to go? A lot of times you're just applying to what's close, but I want you to think about, what do you really want in school? How did you choose Clemson? What made you come here? Is it the experience? Was it the location? Was it because your parents threatened you? Because it was in state? What is it that you're looking for? So how far from home do you want to be? Really think about that. If you think you want to go to New York or somewhere, is that really what you want? What size school do you want to attend? Do you want a little school, big school? What size class do you want to be in? Do you want a small class or a big class? Do you thrive in a smaller environment, or do you like the big group interaction? How much financial aid do you need, and how much can you get? So you need to look at that. Obviously, an Emory or a Vanderbilt or a Duke is going to be more expensive than an MUSC for in-state student. So, what's that going to do? Can you afford that? How many of the programs graduate pass the licensure exam on the first try? Ask the question. Talk about pressure. When I was at Duke, we were at the 50th year of the Duke mark, and right before we took our